Why do we keep going back to what we know, even when we've experienced something different? And stay with me to the end because this really isn't just about Amanita. It's about what happens when you finally feel safe enough to hear yourself again. Hey Seekers, if you're new here, I'm Arlucia and I teach the science behind Amanita, specifically Muscaria, Regalis, and Pantherina, the three varieties I work with and deeply trust. Quick disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes only. I'm not here to treat, diagnose, or prescribe anything. And due to YouTube guidelines and FDA regulations, nothing shared here should be taken as medical advice. The goal is to simplify this path so you feel informed enough to work with Amanita on your own, not rely on someone else to tell you what to feel or how to heal. Let's get into it. I did it too. It wasn't until both my spouse and I actually needed an alternative that we started taking Amanita seriously. And that's when I began understanding what made it so different. It wasn't forcing me into submission. It wasn't saying, you need to quit this, change that, become this person. It was almost the opposite. I felt safe in my body. And when everything got quiet enough, I could hear myself again. That's where accountability becomes really interesting because you're not looking at yourself through shame or negativity. You're looking from a place of peace. Okay, this is where I am. These are the choices I've been making. Is this still what I want? And nobody has to answer that except you. For some people, the need for an alternative is very practical. We hear from cannabis users, people who drink heavily, and increasingly people prescribed benzodiazepines who are working with their doctors to decrease their medication. I'm not a doctor, and I'm absolutely not suggesting anyone change or discontinue a prescription because of Amanita. Benzodiazepine withdrawal in particular can be dangerous and requires medical supervision. What I am saying is that people deserve to know what exists and then educate themselves and see if this is a proper fit. That brings me to another practical question. Does Amanita show up on a drug test? Standard workplace drug panels generally aren't testing for mucimol or ibotenic acid. That's different from saying no specialized tests could ever detect them. And this matters for more than people who already use cannabis. There are plenty of people who are curious about cannabis, but simply can't explore it. Maybe you have a job that requires drug testing. Maybe cannabis is illegal where you live. Maybe losing your job or even risking a positive test is simply not an option. So when everyone around you is talking about cannabis for relaxation, sleep, creativity, or just unwinding at the end of the day, you may feel like that entire avenue is closed to you. And that's another reason I think people should at least know Amanita exists. Then there are people who already use cannabis. Maybe you want a tolerance break without feeling like you're giving up on your evening ritual completely. Maybe you're applying for a new job and need to step away from THC. Or maybe you simply want to explore what life feels like without cannabis for a while. You're not necessarily declaring, I'm never using cannabis again. You're giving yourself another choice. And that's really the larger point here. An alternative doesn't have to mean a replacement. Sometimes it simply means realizing you have another door available to you. That brings me back to what this video is really about. Fear. I think there's a very recognizable enemy that has taken hold of a lot of our minds. The fog. You can occasionally see glimpses beyond it. You know something needs to change. You can almost see the person you could become. But you're so exhausted that even moving toward that person feels like work. I've been there. The strangest part is that I didn't completely realize I was there until I stepped outside of it, until I started feeling strong again, clear again, like myself again. Amanita isn't a miracle mushroom. It isn't going to magically change your life in one day. And I don't think that's what it's here to do. For me, it was more like something quietly holding my hand, wrapping me in a warm hug and reminding me, you are loved. You are worthy. You are more beautiful than you understand. And then comes the question that Amanita cannot answer for you. What are you going to do with that knowledge? That's yours. How much do you want to grow? What do you want to change? What don't you want to change? Maybe you decide you actually like parts of your old life. That's okay too. Nobody is standing over you demanding transformation. Nobody gets to decide what your life should look like. This isn't about replacing one thing with another. It's about realizing you have choices. And sometimes the first step isn't changing your entire life. Sometimes it's simply becoming quiet enough to realize I can choose. All right, guys, don't you forget, I love you forever.